All right, folks, we need to have a chat. Over the past 15 plus years that I have been an offset guitar tech here in New York City, a decent amount of my client base has been folks who have brought their guitars to another guitar tech, likely one that didn't know all of the quirks of offset guitars like your Fender Jazz Masters, Jaguars, Mustangs, and they'll end up bringing me guitars that, by their own accounts, play infinitely worse than when they first brought them to the tech. So today we're going to be taking a look at what to look for when choosing a guitar tech, and also the simple things that you can do to protect yourself and your guitar from being damaged with no accountability from the offending parties who will likely do their best to completely deny the fact that they did anything wrong. Choosing a good guitar tech in a lot of ways is like choosing a good barber. That's somebody that knows your hair, that is going to do a good job, is going to listen to your concerns and your specifications, and you will end up being a returning and loyal client because you verified that they do a fantastic job. Now, pretty much everybody has probably been to a barber that didn't listen, just did their own thing, and you are left at the end with the awkward moment where they show you the mirror, flip you around in the seat, and you see yourself and you're like, oh boy. But in the moment, you're like, oh yeah, that's that's good. Thank you. I've definitely been that person. When you go to see a guitar tech, especially for the first time, there is a feeling out process. A lot of times people will just go to Google or Yelp for reviews, and there are a number of different repair shops and techs that you can bring your guitars to. Now, the issue that I have found, especially with offset guitars, is that otherwise vetted and reputable techs don't really know all of the in-depth quirks of these offset guitars. And the work that some of my clients bring me can be anything from just a bad setup to severe damage done, in some cases, irreparable damage done, or at least to the point where a client would have to shell out some serious coin just to fix what that previous tech had done. And I have seen this several times over. I usually keep my mouth shut about it and just will ask the client where they brought their guitars to. And sometimes, as expected, the usual culprit is I had my friend work on it, or I found a guy on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace that's doing setups for 60 bucks or whatever. I got my start in a very similar way, actually, back in 2010, when after doing a number of custom builds and doing repair work just for friends, one of my close buddies inspired me to just put out a post on Craigslist saying that I specialize in offset guitars. And that's honestly how my business got rolling back in the day. Within a short amount of time, folks on various forums and also by word of mouth caught wind of me. And I didn't even have to post on Craigslist anymore to get people seeking me out for my services. So I am not disparaging those folks who are trying to get a foot in the door, so to speak, being an independent guitar tech. The world could always use more, not less, good guitar techs, especially if you live in a place that is a bit more outside of metropolitan or urban areas where maybe your town or small city only has one or two people that are known to do good guitar work. Now, on the other side of this, I've also received some of the worst work that I've seen from very reputable guitar techs, some that have honestly shocked me. Expensive work like refrets and making new nuts, fret leveling, crowning, dressing, refinishes. These are services that usually are hundreds and hundreds of dollars, exceeding $1,000 easily if you have to get a bunch of different things done. And you would expect, at minimum, especially if you are bringing a precious instrument, not just one that's precious to you, but objectively precious, say a 1965 Jaguar that is all original. These are instruments that we would hope that if we are bringing to a reputable place would be treated with the utmost respect and care. But unfortunately, that doesn't always happen. I have heard from clients of very famous shops that have absolutely butchered their vintage guitars. Being a client myself, especially because I do not have the facilities for certain types of work, such as refinishing, for example, there have been times that professionals will give me the runaround and come up with excuses, anything to not just take accountability for the poor work that they have done. And of course, for someone like me, I'm not going to take that laying down, all the while trying my best to keep my cool and also be respectful. But being a paying client and one that has been loyal demands a mutual level of respect back when things go south. In the case of some of my clients, they unfortunately do not have the constitution to make as much of a fuss as I would. And so what ends up happening is that they end up getting taken advantage of. Some of these otherwise reputable professionals will come up with BS explanations for why the thing they effed up is the way that it is. And a lot of times people become so disenfranchised because they've already spent so much money that they literally will just tuck their instrument away into a closet and not deal with it, just because they do not want a repeat of what has happened. They've already lost a great deal of money, heartache in the process. And so I do not blame folks, especially those who try their best to be non-confrontational. The obvious disadvantage to being that way is that you end up getting stepped all over. Now, what are some of the things that you can do to vet a guitar tech prior to you bringing your guitar to them? The very first, most basic thing is to look up reviews. Google and Yelp are two of the places where people look the most, but I would also try to take a look at whether they have a Facebook page, whether there have been any mentions of their work on forums such as the Gear page, offsetguitars.com, Reddit. I feel like the reason why sometimes some of these reviews end up in private channels is because people want to be discreet. Just because their guitar got messed up, they do have a heart and don't necessarily want to publicly try to destroy the offending tech or shop that did that horrible work. The second thing is to get a recommendation from a friend that has gone to them, preferably multiple times. Now, this one is arguably a less popular one, especially in this year of our Lord 2025. But pick up the phone and call, ask questions, tell them your concerns, see how they respond, not because you are trying to grill them or interrogate them, but because the responses to your questions will give you a good idea of the amount of care and knowledge that they will put towards fixing your instrument. I think the more detailed that you can be with your guitar tech, the better. When I meet up with clients, I will often have a voice recording going so that I can hear their responses to questions that I have as a tech. I really want to get into the nitty gritty of how they want their guitar to play. What are the points of concern that I should be taking a specific look at beyond just a general setup, for example? Having those details as a tech is crucial, and it helps us to refer back to what it is that you exactly need. Also, chatting with a guitar tech on the phone will give you an idea as well of their personality. Sometimes personalities don't mesh, and if they can't be effed with 5, 10 minutes of your time to answer some of your questions, that already should be a red flag for you, because being busy is not an excuse to completely sideline or ignore the concerns, especially of a potential new client. If anything, that is a crucial moment that many techs should rise to the occasion of, to show that they actually care. If instead, when asking questions, they try their best to immediately dismiss you or are really cranky and terse and really kind of short with their responses to you, my friends, keep looking, right? Save yourself the headache in advance, because if they're like that now, imagine if something goes wrong. If you heed any of my advice at all in this video with regards to finding yourself a good and trusted tech that you can go to every time, it is that one. Take the time. And if you're not the type of person that likes to speak over the phone, maybe you have anxiety or something about doing that, then open up correspondence with them over an email, over one of the social platforms that have direct messaging. Regardless of what avenue you take, I cannot stress enough the importance of concise communication with your guitar tech. Now, another thing that you can do to protect yourself so that if things go south, it does not turn into a game of your word against theirs. And I've learned this from having to ship out guitars uh, dozens of times every year, and that is to document. Get your phone out, right? Make sure to have a piece of paper out that says today's date, and document the current condition of your guitar with close ups of the front, of the fretboard, of the frets, of the headstock, of the back, and especially if it is a very valuable instrument, having that in your back pocket is really important. If you get your guitar back and say it has a gouge in the fretboard or a finish chip missing or dings that weren't there prior to you bringing your guitar to the tech, then at very minimum, when you do raise your concern and they try to deny that they had done anything, you have record of that. And I know that that sounds really, really neurotic, but you will not believe the kinds of things that I have seen clients bring to me that were hack jobs done by other places. And because they had no evidence of the condition of their guitar beforehand, then they literally have no recourse. Having irrefutable evidence from you documenting your guitar, if things go south, there is no denying that the fault lands on the people who ended up doing the horrible job. But unfortunately, when it comes to protecting yourself, you do need to have some kind of paper trail, because again, if it is just your own recollection, using that as defense does not count as proof. Another thing that you can ask is if there's any sort of grace period that they offer for you being able to bring the guitar back if anything pops up that wasn't expected. Uh, I myself, for example, offer a 30-day guarantee with all work, so that if anything comes up related to that original bill of work, I fix it for free. Thankfully, over the many years I've been doing that, it's only been used like twice, 3 times at max. But I know that my clients appreciate that that policy is in place. Additionally, you can ask to play the instrument, to try it out before you pay. On the days when clients are supposed to pick up, I will pencil in an additional 30 minutes for them to be able to play their instruments through a tube amp and see that everything is to their liking. And I have my tools, obviously, on hand to make any minor adjustments that they may need, be they, action or if they are hearing weird vibrations or anything it is that maybe I, with the way that I play, didn't pick up on, then right there on site, we can make that minor adjustment and I ensure that you leave happy. And one of the reasons I take the time to do that is because I know people are very particular about what they want. Now, this video is not meant to put techs in general on blast. I know so many amazing guitar techs and luthiers, not just in New York, but all over the world, who do work with the same level of care and integrity that for them and for myself is worth more than gold itself. I can't tell you guys how many unpaid hours that I have worked over the many, many years that I've been doing this just to get the job done right. I take more care of my clients' guitars than I actually do my own because I know what guitars are worth to people. I know the sentimental value that they hold for people. These are their babies, right? And so they deserve to be treated with attention, with detail, with care. They do not deserve to be sidelined or to just be one of the queue where all too often I feel like, especially bigger shops that employ many, many techs, they'll sometimes get overloaded with work. That is unfortunately the reality of having a business that ends up rising in their profile, getting fantastic reviews over many years, and rightfully so because they've done fantastic work. But all of a sudden, over time, some places will prioritize volume over quality. And that's just, I don't know, that's capitalism, I guess, right? And the making money it takes priority and good enough, or in some instances, thinking that for whatever reason, folks are not going to notice becomes the MO of some of these places, and that is just not right. Never forget that, much like yourself, your guitar tech also deserves to be treated with respect and dignity. Mistakes will happen, right? Very common things, for example, with vintage instruments. I was just talking to somebody about this the other day. Things like chip outs, for example, in a vintage finish, one that is 60 plus years old. Sometimes those kinds of things are unavoidable. Oh, I have to adjust a truss rod on this. There are times where literally the lacquer has melted on to the neck plate or to the side or bottom of the heel of the neck. Some of those things are unfortunately, regardless of the care put and the preparation put into trying to get things flawlessly done, is outside of our control. And a good tech, an honest tech, will immediately reach out to you and, if anything, take the prerogative to come up with a solution for you. I think for those guitar techs and luthiers who never compromise on the quality of the work that they do, that at minimum will be offered if something unexpected happens. And on that note, this is not supposed to give you license to be a complete and utter dickhead to your guitar tech, right? Word gets around. The guitar tech community is not huge. We're all friends with each other a lot of times, especially if we are working in the same area. And for sure, friends of mine and I to them have given each other the heads up when we end up with a nightmare client. And if you keep up, you know, that kind of act, if you will, of just being rude and just ungraceful and super demanding without any care for how you treat your guitar tech, at the end of the day, whether it's a bigger shop or an independent tech, if folks catch wind that you are a D-bag, then don't be surprised if you are refused service, because after all, that is something we reserve the right to be able to do, especially if it's warranted. It's really simple, folks. Just treat others with respect. right? It goes a really, really long way, especially in service industries where you are wanting a positive and optimal result. Being rude, being overly demanding, being super hot tempered, especially if the tech is already trying to make things right with you, is definitely not going to help your case. So, yeah, respect. Anyway, I think that about wraps it up for this video. I hope it's been helpful to you or validating to you if you've been unfortunately on the receiving end of bad guitar tech work. I hope that the points raised here help you to better find yourself a go-to guitar tech and also protect yourself ahead of time in the case that things do not end up as expected. And definitely let me know down in the comments if you've ever been on the receiving end of some bad guitar work. What was done to rectify it, if anything, or even how you ended up finding your favorite guitar tech and what you love about what they do. And if you haven't already, please hit that like and subscribe button, as well as the notification bell to be notified of new videos as soon as they drop. It helps this teeny tiny channel to grow. And as always, don't forget to follow Totally Wired Guitars for more offset guitars tech tips.